And then here's where the magic comes. Holding down your Alt key, I'm gonna go in between skin and base color. And if I click there, oh my gosh, it's now in the lines. It's not outside of the lines. It's movie magic. No, it's not. It's Photoshop magic. Today, we're learning the basics. It is a Photoshop 101, an intro class, and I'm just gonna bring your attention over to our SSU website page here, because if you want to kind of get started, or if you don't have a drawing, or if you don't know how to draw, I actually provided some images. They're just some characters here. If you want to download those ahead of time, they are PNGs with transparent backgrounds, which means that it's only the line work, and then you can go ahead and start painting and drawing on top of it. And yeah, so those are provided in this drive that the link is in the page here. So go ahead and download that if you need to. And another thing is, this has been mentioned previously, but as students, you should have access to the Adobe suite. And so you should have access to Photoshop, which is one of the main tool that we're using today. And I'm going to go ahead and open that. Another tool that if you have would be super helpful and great for making hand-drawn art is a tablet. Now my tablet's down here, so if I'm looking down here, it's because this is where my screen is, and you guys are over there. Yeah, so a drawing tablet though, a virtual drawing tablet, is really helpful for using this program, again, for hand-drawn art, if you'd like to do that. I have a Cintiq. It's like this big guy, but like this big, and has a large screen, and then I use this pen to draw on it. Another really good tool, I would say, is the iPad. If you have Procreate, access to Procreate, that is such a fantastic tool. I think personally that's one of my favorite apps to use for drawing. It's transportable, you can bring it all over the place. And yeah, so we're gonna start off. I'm gonna go ahead and make a new file. And really what you're looking to make from the canvas, what you're looking to make, where you want to post it, if you want to print it, these are all like really important points that you have to like figure out before making your file. So we're gonna go ahead and make something. Let's say it's for Instagram. Instagram likes to have your canvas at a 1080 by 1080. It likes the square, so pixel, and what pixels are is just like it's just a measurement for digital frames. If you're looking to print, I would go with inches, and again, depending on what size of a file you want to print, or like the dimensions of the paper that's going to be, you'll then change it to, like, say you want to print a poster, you go like 8 by 10 inches, right? But for our purposes today, we're going to do a 1080 by 1080 pixels canvas size. And then everything else can stay at default. And then we're gonna go ahead and press create. And then you get a blank page like this. But yeah, I'm also gonna put up this volume a little bit because, yeah, let's get some chill vibes. I know I'm just overly excited, but this music's like bringing us down to earth, you know? Okay. So if you went ahead and downloaded a file, one of those images, you can go ahead and actually just, from your downloads on your computer, you can just drag and drop, and it takes a moment, and there you go, the image is right there. You could also just do your own drawing if you wanted to do so. How you do that from the beginning is you create a layer at the bottom. So at the bottom right here, right beside the trash and folder icon, there's a plus sign. That's how you get a new folder. And then you could just go ahead and start drawing, right? So you can just make your drawing like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and start off with that image, drag and drop, and it creates its own new layer. Okay. As I said previously, this is a PNG, which is a type of file that has more information than your typical like JPEG image, which I'm sure you've heard of JPEG images. A PNG allows you to store information that says if you want transparent backgrounds, which this one does. Look, there's nothing in the background. Also, I see there's a question. What roles do layers play in digital art? We are gonna get so into layers, don't you dare worry. So layers are a huge important role because you can do so much with them. Everything from like you can have your line art on one. You can have your line art on one file layer, and then you can have your color on another layer, and then you can stack on top of them as if they were sheets of paper. And then if you want to like manipulate the layer underneath that with some different kind of like blending modes, you can do so as well. We will get into that. I know it sounds like a lot of, especially if you're not used to Photoshop, it's just like a lot of word vomit, but it's okay. We'll get to it. Okay. Oh, one other thing actually that I would like to show you are our brush tools. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add another brush here. So we actually have a lot of default tools, brushes in the Photoshop program to begin with. So as you can see, this is like a hard brown brush that's like a little bit soft. And then when you right click, I believe it's right click. I'm using my pen. Yeah. When you right click on a mouse, or you can click, if you have a pen, you can just click on the side. You can actually manipulate the size of the brush tip or like the hardness. And what the hardness would do is just see how it goes soft versus hard, which is a hard edge. There's a clear difference there. Actually, let's zoom in and see that. Like that, right? So this one's a hard edge and this one has a more blended out soft edge. All right, so with the Photoshop files, you do have, with the default Photoshop brushes, you do have, again, default brushes. So that was the round brush. You also have brushes that go out to points and tips. And also, if you want your brush to kind of, you might be experiencing that it's not doing that. Up here, there's a little butterfly icon, and beside it, it's like a pen with a few circles there. That will allow you for pen pressure, which lets you do all these like really nice lines with variation of line quality, right? Once you do that. Without that, it's just a flat. Regardless of how much pressure I'm putting down on my pen, it'll always be flat. Right. Yeah, and with brushes, you can also download a bunch of free brushes online, and they can have like some really cool effects. Like, I'm just picking brushes at random here. Like, you can have textured brushes, which are great for when you start painting and stuff. Or let's say we want to make like a quick tree, right? You just use a textured brush, then you go back with your regular brush, and you make the you make the trunk. And you have a little tree, quick and easy right there, right? So that's when like brushes with like textures or patterns in them are really fun and helpful, especially if you're doing something really quick. All right, and then of course we have our eraser tool, and oh, also this reminds me, I made a little document. It's just a bunch of shortcuts for Photoshop, and these shortcuts are shortcuts on your keyboard. So for example, if you want to switch quickly between brush and eraser, it's really easy to do so. Instead of going all the way on the side here, brush B as in Bravo for brush, and then E as in eraser for eraser. So if again you look in that document, there's a few more other tools I listed there, but brush and eraser are the first ones because they're the ones we use the most. We also have other shortcuts like adjusting the canvas, which we won't really get into right now, but it is helpful. Hue and saturation, we'll get that a little bit later when we start painting with the actual color. Comparison, again, that's something we'll go a little bit later. Lasso tool we'll use later. Actually, a lot of these we'll use a little bit later. But again, shortcuts so that you can like just use your other hand to like just press the keys real quick. It's all right there in that little PDF. These are the ones that I've most commonly used recently. You might use other ones as well, but these are the ones I'm using. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Oh yeah, and also Control S is how you save a file. So we're gonna go ahead and save this, even though there's nothing there. It's always good to save your progress. And I'm gonna write SSU, gonna do, what is this, Photoshop, Shop 101, okay. And this background is starting to be too bright for me. So I am going to, you'll see that backgrounds are automatically locked. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to unlock it. So that means we can now manipulate that layer. I'm gonna go ahead to bucket tool, which is over here, or G if you're using hotkeys. And I'm just gonna go to gray just because that's less glare on my eyes, and my eyes can't deal with that brightness. I'm also go ahead and turn this PNG file back open. And then using the L tool or the lasso tool, I'm gonna go ahead and just move this because I think it's a bit too close. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna do Control X and then Control V for copy paste. Actually, sorry, I need to rasterize this layer first. Rasterizing layers just makes the image, an image that you put in there, you can edit it now, right? So going back to what I was doing earlier, so I lassoed this. I just think it's a bit too close, so I'm gonna just move it out. Also with my name too, I'm gonna just move that out too. Okay. When you lasso something, you'll see like there's these dotted lines. Those are called marching ants, which is pretty cute. And how you get rid of that is Control and then D as in David. Now, so from here, if you want to do a quick selection so that you can just dump color on whatever you're drawing, is W or the this little thing that looks like a wand over here. It is literally called the magic wand. And with that, you just click on you click on like a space in your image, and then it'll automatically select that, right? So what I'm going to do here to kind of, because it's more clever way to select, is I'm going to click the outside, and then I'm going to hold down Alt, which means remove, and I'm going to remove select anything that, or sorry, I'm going to hold down the Shift. Someone said that I may have missed something. Am I supposed to have that image? Yeah, okay, so for the image, no worries, Dean. I'm just gonna go over that once more. Again, I am a fast talker. I go over things real quick. If you need me to go back over things, I will do so happily. Yeah, so this image is something I drew that is available to everyone. It's on the SSU webpage. I can actually just copy. I'll just drop that link there. Oh yeah, no, sorry, it's not on my website. It's on the SSU website. I was just showing you guys what I do. But yeah, so there's the link though, and it's right here. Oh, right here. Download these drawings, and it'll bring you over to this Google folder, and you can download it from there. That's if you'd like to use my image. You don't have to, of course. You could do your own drawing and paint your own drawing. All right. And so I'm gonna wait for Dean to catch up there for a moment. And in the meantime, yeah, so, but talking about selection, so one way that's really cool. So I'm just gonna go and talk about the lasso tool in the meantime. Dean, let me know when you're caught up. So with the lasso tool, again, you get those marching ants. If you want to add to your selection, you hold down Shift, and you'll see a plus sign come by your lasso there. And you can just keep on adding to the selection that you made. And then if you hold down Alt, that does the reverse thing. So it removes things from your selection. And then again, Control D for deselecting everything. Another lasso or selecting tool that I really like is the I believe it's called the, what is it called? It's called the Polylasso? Yeah, polygonal lasso tool, that's what it's called. This one is a little bit different in that you just tap on points, and that will then do the selection. It's good for when you're doing non-organic kind of line work. If you're like doing buildings or cars or things with straight lines. Okay, Dean, you good to go? Hopefully, we're gonna keep on keeping on. So we're gonna go back to that magic wand tool. And then again, so we're gonna go ahead and select the outside of the drawing here. And then I'm gonna hold down the shift key and then select inside her arm, or wherever on whatever image you're using, whatever you think should be selected, or not selected in this case. You can go ahead and click those holes there. So I think I'm good here. I'm actually going to switch over to my other lasso tool, hold down that shift key again, and just circle that, the Ronnie. Oh, Ronnie, by the way, is the name of the character that I named, because I really like that name. Yeah, and then also I selected my name over there so that it's also selected. And then because if we were to go to, I'm gonna pick a random color over here. Let's pick red, and then I'm gonna pick my bucket tool. If I were to just drop the color there right now, it will look, everything but her is essentially in color. And also I see I missed a spot there, so I'm gonna also select that real quick. What else did I miss? I think I missed something else. Yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, so we want the inverse of that selected. So what you can do is you can go to select, inverse, and that will now drop everything that is not inside of that, or it's gonna select, sorry, it's gonna drop color in the inverse selection of what we picked, right? But I don't know if you saw, but what I'm doing is I'm dropping the color on another layer that is not the line layer, right? So we were speaking about layers earlier. Yes, actually, I did know it meant queen. That's exactly why I picked it. So Rani does mean queen in South Asian languages. And I did pick it because I thought of her as some like sort of princess, this is kind of cheesy, some sort of knight that's like trying to earn her keep as like her spot in like royalty or something like that. She's like, she has a whole like backstory that I kind of made up in my head. But yeah, so going back to this, we were speaking about layers earlier. So this layer right here, we're gonna keep with the line art only. The reason why we're doing that is because if I were to paint on this layer, and I was like, oh no, I don't like that, I'm gonna erase, then I'm also erasing my line work, which is not something I wanna manipulate. But if I go another layer and I bring it underneath this line layer, and I put color there, the bucket tool automatically colored everything because there was nothing in that layer previously. And then also now if I want to go ahead and do some erasing, it's so easy and it does not affect my line work, which is perfect. It's absolutely what I want. Okay, and so from there, I'm just going to pick any old color that's not as aggressive as that red. And that's going to be my base color for now. It's a temporary color, and we will be changing it later. Also, just another tool that actually is helpful if you want to add this is something called the Navigator. So if you go under Windows and you go to Navigator, I have mine selected. It's just on my other screen here. But this is what the Navigator is. It's essentially your image again, but it helps you know where you are on the page. So if I bring this down a little bit, and this out a little bit, if I get really into the painting that I'm doing at the moment, and I get really close, the Navigator always stays this big, and it allows me to go around the page really quickly. So if I'm painting her hands, I'm like, oh, I have the color, I might as well paint her other hand in the meantime. There we go. So I can just hop between those two pieces really quickly and easily. I really like having the Navigator. Sometimes I have it on the other screen, but for now we'll leave it there. I'm gonna take another sip of that water. Okay. So, I don't know if everyone is an artist in this little class that we have going on here, or if they're very good with colors. Personally, colors is not my strong suit, so I like to do a little cheating. Actually, it's not cheating, it's like what everyone does, but I'm just gonna call it a little cheat in here. And I'm gonna actually go ahead, I'm using Pinterest right now, or you can just color pick yourself. But you can actually use a lot of resources online to do kind of a color selection. So if you are uninspired with your colors and paintings, you can always look at nature, and nature always has amazing color palettes. So I'm gonna go ahead and come down here and look for a palette that kind of like speaks to me. I think I like this one over here. Let's make her have some green. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy that. And then on here, I'm just gonna do Control V, and there's the image. Yeah, it's really, really helpful, especially if color's not your strong suit. I mean, you can always take all like the color and painting like classes in the world, but like in the end, nothing can beat what nature can do, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, and another thing about Photoshop is that it is a bitmap program. It doesn't use vectors, meaning that when you put an image down there, if you start to resize it, you'll see that it starts losing its image quality. So if I start making it bigger, it gets more blurry. If I start making it smaller, it's just, you're getting smaller. It's, I don't really see anything too, oh, well, there you go. From far away, it doesn't look bad. But when you get closer, it gets like a little pixelated and blurry, and you're like, what is that? A vector program, like for example, if you use any of the Harmony programs, Toon Boom programs, there's a Storyboard and Harmony. Those are vectorized programs in which, or Illustrator as well. Thank you, Zed or Z. That is exactly right. Illustrator is a very good vectorized based program. Vectorized meaning that the image that you draw has a both direction and a mathematical quantity, so that you can then adjust and stretch it as far as you want, and the math the math part of that will multiply however much that was, and then so the images stay sharp is essentially what that means. But that's not the program we're using. We're using Photoshop, so let's get back to that. So we're going to color this character. So what I like to do is I have this base color. I'm gonna go ahead and rename that. It's just a double click. I'm gonna, in capital letters because it's easy to see, I'm gonna write base color. Okay. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna rename this one and name it line. Line. Yeah. And then this is gonna be, it's gonna be like BG for background. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and do a color select. So that is, you can do color select in 2, 3 ways, 4 ways, a lot of ways. So one, you can press I, and you can see the eyedropper icon come on. And when I click it, the circle fills whatever color I picked. And right over here, close to the color layers there shows you the result of the color you picked. And then when I go to paint now, there's my color. Another way to do that is if you don't want to have to change your tool all the time, and I'm in my brush tool right now. If I hold if I hold Alt, that's gonna do my color selection, and then I just continue painting, which is that's kind of just a faster way. Another way, of course, classic, you can go to, here's the eyedropper. Eyedropper is right here. That's right above this Band-Aid looking thing, and then you can select it that way. And then finally, the other way is you literally double click on your little color patch there, and then you can color select from there. So there's four short ways that you can do that. All right, so above my base color, and actually for my line layer, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go ahead and lock that so I don't draw on that accidentally. That's that lock symbol right there. Locking, what that would do is that now if I literally cannot paint on it anymore, right? So I'm gonna lock that, and then now underneath that, but above my base layer, my base color, I'm gonna add another layer there. I'm just gonna write, I'm gonna write just, I'm gonna do her skin here, so I'm just gonna write skin. And then, so we're gonna go ahead and start painting. what I like to do is you can either just use your brush, but again, like a really nice and fast way to do it. And then, so if you hold down Z, you can go in and out of your image. That's how you zoom in and out real quick. And then the move tool, if you see me moving the canvas around, that's just holding down spacebar. Yeah, so we can do this. I'm just painting very messily. And that's very orange. We'll fix it later. Fix it in post, that's what we do. And then I'm just gonna go ahead, and another way to do just kind of color fill really quickly is you can use your lasso tool. I'm actually gonna go ahead and change that to my polygon lasso tool because I like that tool better, because these straights are just easier to do. This quicker. It's always about time and efficiency when you're in this industry. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and select some more. Again, I'm holding down Shift as I have my polygon lasso tool selected. Gonna get her face. Yeah. See, this is when it's nice to have that. Feel like I've literally been talking half an hour straight, and then one time I'm like quiet. I'm like, this is when it's nice to be quiet, and I keep on talking. But it's nice to have music on while you're like painting and stuff, right? Get in the mood, get in the zone. So yeah, what I did is I just I lassoed the sections that I wanted her skin color to be in, and then I just color dropped. And then here's where the magic comes. Holding down your Alt key, I'm gonna go in between skin and base color, and if I click there, oh my gosh, it's now in the lines. It's not outside of the lines. It's movie magic. No, it's not. It's Photoshop magic. Boom, bam, baby. This is how we do it. So what that did right there is I clipped the skin layer to the base color, and so now it won't go anywhere past the base color. So this is the base color is what we did with the magic tool, and we filled that in. The magic wand tool, and we filled that in. Also, I'm just realizing that there's a line missing here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and draw that in real quick, unlock it. Use this brush, and I'm gonna color drop to the line color. I don't know if it's exactly black. See, it's not an exactly black, it's actually an off blue, so that's why we color select things. Lower this brush quality. Oh, resizing brushes. So instead of having to right click and go up and down this thing, because it's not the most efficient way to do things. There's the square bracket, open and close, actually makes it bigger or smaller. You just hold it. I'm just gonna go ahead and I don't like that hardness. Let's try that one. Just gonna draw that line there. Ooh, okay. And then I'm gonna go back to skin, and I'm gonna actually erase some of this because I don't want it to be there. Change my brush. Let me make it smaller. There we go. Yeah, that skin color's not working for me, but that's okay. We'll keep on keeping on. I think I like this color so in my mind, she has like you can do whatever you want to the images yourself. You can do whatever color palette you want. In my mind, she has like a little kind of like little skin tight like a suit underneath, if that makes sense. So again, you can either paint it like this, or you can use your the lasso tool. So you're seeing it's coming out of the line work again. The reason being is because it's not clipped onto it. So we're gonna go ahead and clip that. And again, it no longer goes past the line. Oh yeah, that orange, I'm not liking it, but that's okay. Actually, I think I'm gonna do all of her clothes on this layer. I'm gonna do clothes. If I could. Booze. Oh no, I can't spell. Okay. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually I'm gonna use that lasso tool because it's fast and I'm lazy. I mean, it's the right Well, no, you're using tools. It's a clever way to do it. It's good. Okay, I think I'm just going to actually, yeah, no, I'm gonna do all the clothing on this layer. As we're doing this, does anyone have any questions? Are you guys keeping up? Not losing anybody? No? All right, cool. That's good to know. Okay. And I think we're gonna do her tunic or her clothing on top, like that nice, like green, that olive green. It's literally olives, I think. Yeah, it's olives. There are olives there. I didn't even realize. Okay. And because this layer is on top of this skin layer, you're gonna see that if I were to paint on top of the skin now, it will show up. And whether or not it's clipped is not going to help that from not showing up. So at that point, you should kind of now is when you start to be careful of how cleanly you paint, essentially. All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make. Okay, I'm gonna start using my poly tool. I think I'm gonna make her gloves the same color too. And then I'll make her armor like that lighter color maybe. So another thing you could do, so this is actually, I would recommend not doing this actually, is if you were to paint first, and then you go in with the bucket and then you paint again. The reason why I would not do that is because if you can see that there is like a line that goes around that bucket tool that you just did, and that you can't really get rid of. You can like make it as small as possible, but that line for some reason always stays there. So I'm gonna do it over here so you can, or I'm gonna do it in black so it's easier to see. So if I do that circle and I go ahead and do bucket tool, again, there's that rim of like pixels that didn't get colored. And if you try to bucket tool that again, what it does is that it just like goes over everything and it leaves you with an ugly kind of pixelated rim. Unless that's what you're going for, then then go ahead and do that. But like typically it's not what we're looking to do. Yeah, so that's why I would recommend using poly tool and then color dropping from there. Okay, and then you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and take this chance to actually show you another hotkey / tool that I use a lot, because I'm really not feeling that skin color is really orange. So if you do Control U, that brings up the Hue and Saturation tool. So hue is color. So essentially any color you think of is hue, right? Saturation is how like much of that color's in there. So the less saturation there is, the more kind of grayed out it is. And then of course lightness is how much black or how much white. So tint and shade that's in that color. So you can actually go ahead and start color picking. When I tell you that color is not my forte, I'm not joking. That's why I do a lot of characters though. So I like to do more, I don't do a painterly style. When I do my character drawings, I go for like a more cell-based shading kind of style, which means I'll show in a second, but it's really fast and easy to do. You can use like black or like a dark color, and you just add your hard shadows to that. I think I like that one better. Well, I might change later, but I think I like that better. Okay, I see that there's a bit of orange on her arm, and that's because I accidentally painted that on her clothes layer. When you start mixing things up in your layers, that's when it gets like, oh no, why did I do that? Because that's gonna take up some time, I think I'm gonna stop there for now. Or actually, let me just give her some eyes. I'm gonna go ahead and get a white. Might have to be whiter. Gonna go on my skin layer and add the white to her eyes. Yeah, for sure, Lydia. I'll do that in a second. Let me just select these as, color drop it, and I will drop to you in 1 sec. The playlist is called Low Fruits Music. Again, I mainly pick things so I think it's funny. So, and then also I saw some like I think it was some Steven Universe in there, so I was like, okay, let's pick that. Actually, here's a question to everyone because I'm curious. First of all, are there any like animated shows anyone likes? Let me know. Maybe type in why, and also, kind of what piqued your interest to like join tonight? That's also a question I have. And here's the link for everyone that wants that. Yeah, I love seniors too. I really liked it. It's nice designs, those backgrounds, the colors, everything looks nice. All right, so I'm also gonna give her some pupils. What color pupils should I do? Let's go for maybe that. No, I think that's too light. Oh, we'll try it. No, that's too light. Let's make it darker. Yeah, that's nice. And I'm just gonna add it like a little thing. Okay. The thing with painting is that you can't. It's hard to stop. It is hard to stop. So what I'm gonna do actually, because mainly this is for like to show you how layers work and everything. I'm actually gonna go ahead and merge these layers. You can either select them, right click, and then merge layers, or you can right click, merge down. So now I'm just gonna go just say this is colors. Right. So there's that. And then I'm actually gonna go ahead again because we're running out of time. I'm gonna go ahead and hop to the next step. Colors again, just paint however you or put whatever base colors you really like and apply them there. So I have a new layer. I'm going to clip that down. I'm gonna write that as I'm gonna let's label it shadows. The reason why I'm taking the time to label all of these is because when you have more and more layers, it can get really messy really easily. So taking the time to name your layers really helps you in the long run. And so for her, I think I'm going to color select this background. Okay, I'm gonna maybe make it kind of... No, I don't like that. Let's do that. Maybe a bit darker. Okay, let's go with that. And then with the shadows, I'm gonna just stay in this same color range that I'm in, and then maybe go a little darker. And then I have a lot of brushes I've downloaded in the past, and you can always download brushes from online artists. A lot of time, if you use Procreate, there's a bunch of artists that like to make Procreate packages, and sometimes people make Photoshop packages as well. So I highly recommend, if they're free, especially, it's nice to download them. So one artist that did that was, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this artist, but Lolish or Lollyish made that. And also I think as Sheridan students, we have access to the Kyle brushes as well. And Kyle brushes are really nice for drawing. I don't know if they're here at the moment, actually. Let me double check. I don't think I have Kyle brushes here. But either way, those are some nice brushes to have. I'm gonna go ahead and go with my hard brush pen for now. And then I'm gonna decide where I would like the light to come from. So now we're getting to like kind of more painterly lesson. You kind of determine where your light source is coming from, and so I like to just like draw an arrow. So I'm gonna say it's this way. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw or paint on my shadows accordingly. So I'm gonna switch to this brush. No, I'm gonna switch to that brush. And really, switching between brushes, it's what you're kind of comfortable with, right? Whatever you think is, whatever you think suits what you're doing, right? So as I said earlier, I like a cell kind of shading because it's a simple way of painting, of shadows and stuff like that. It's very blocky. Yeah, so right here, you're just making decisions of where you're deciding that this color is gonna go. That's why I'm talking a lot less and maybe slower, because I'm actually thinking. Believe it or not, you think when you paint. It can be mindless though too, so that's pretty nice. So right now you're probably thinking, you're like, why are you putting this color down? This looks so funky. Like, who has this color shadow? Like, what are you doing? Are you sure you're an art student? I'm like, I don't even know at this point. Me neither. What we're gonna do here is we're going to apply like some blending nodes now, right? I don't think I like that. And what blending nodes do is they can really affect the layer. This is a blending node on the layer too, so it's not just on the brush. And blending nodes can really affect what a layer can do. So right here, underneath this kind, as you see, it says normal. I'm gonna go ahead and actually change that to multiply. So what that does is that it just kind of adds on to the layer underneath it. And it tells the computer to like to multiply whatever color you put on top to multiply whatever's on the bottom, essentially. And so this is how we do our shadows, but it looks a little bit aggressive for a shadow. I'm just gonna go ahead and refine these. So you'll see here, this is when we start like swapping between like erasing and paintbrush a lot. That's why these are top of the list of that little PDF I sent everyone, because truly that is most commonly used tools when painting. I'm truly running out of time. Okay, I would think I would refine this a little bit more, but alas, we have no time. It is what it is. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and what do we do now for multiply? I'm just gonna lower the opacity. That already looks way better, right? Another thing we could do is I'm gonna duplicate the shadows here. Okay, and I didn't use straight black. I use like a kind of dark blue. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to do that Control U again. I'm gonna see if what would happen if I kind of played around with the color some more. Because the lighter we go, the less shadow it is. And what if I put some like more blue into that? I think I like that. Not really reflective of her environment though. Oh well, I do what I want. Okay, and then we're gonna do highlights here. And then for highlights, I like to use color dodge or overlay depending on the situation. And this time let me try to stay within this color range as the background. I'm just gonna go with a little bit lighter color, and we're gonna give her I'm just gonna give her a rim light. Rim light, what that is just literally a light around the rim of things, just that reflects like the environment and stuff. So I'm just gonna add a little light. And things that I would think that there'd be light onto her, bouncing onto her. Maybe your nose. No, maybe not. Maybe the side of her face. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, and at this point, it's you're really feeling and through your like knowledge of everyday life and through studies, if you've studied art, this is kind of how you know where to apply things, right? Okay, so that's like a bright blue. It could look good like that, but I just want to show you how we would use like color dodge or overlay to kind of like change up and use these tools, right? So what overlay does is oh, I think my Photoshop is frozen. There we go. Okay, what overlay does is that it anything that's light on something else that's light, it will make it lighter, and anything that's dark on something else that's dark, it'll make it darker. So you'll see that right there. That's a really nice, helpful tool. Also, screen dodge is nice too because it lightens everything up without adding too much contrast. And yeah, so those are some really, really good blending tools that I like to use. And then another thing actually that I would like to show real quick because I know time's going. This works sometimes really well on some images. We'll try to see if it works on this one. Is adding like a blending mode. So if you want to blend things, you can actually go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And then you can just determine, it gives you a little window that shows you what kind of level of blur you'd like to do. Maybe just a little bit. And just the reason I'm doing that is just to show like a little bit of blur on that shadow edge. But I could also, what I did was I duplicated the shadow layer, and I applied that blur on one of the layers. I just want to see if I like that. Yeah, we'll say okay. Yeah, so those are some of the tricks that can help you get started and like really quickly, like there's your line, there's your color base, there's your shadows, there's your highlights, and then a few tools that you can use to like set up and get started. How you make beautiful art is you explore and practice on your own. Again, beautiful art is through practice and practice and more practice. And when you think you're done practicing, you do it again. So it's through repetition and yeah, and I hope like this little session helped everyone understand what Photoshop a little bit more. Hopefully it's not scary to anyone. And I would love to see amazing work. If anyone makes anything cool, please tag me. I would actually absolutely love to know and see what you do. If you do on your story or anything, just go like at my friend Kim, because I am your friend. And I think that's it for me. I'm just gonna go ahead and send it back off to the SSU, and I hope everyone enjoyed that.
Thank you so much, Kim. That was such a wonderful class today, and like we really loved it, and it was very informative. And yeah, and I'm definitely gonna try some digital art after this class because I know I've learned a lot today.
Yeah, I'm glad. Make sure you tag me and be like, hey, this is what I did. This is from all
Sure,
the
sure.
all
Yeah,
the tools
sure.
I
And
used.
right. And also to our like participants, like if you make something like Kim said, just tag her, or you can like also tag the SSU's Instagram page. And yeah, thank you so much for coming in tonight, everyone. We really appreciate it.